Hey Vikings fans, what's going on today? If you've been following the Minnesota Vikings closely this offseason, you know things have been a little complicated. Free agency opened with a lot of expectations, a lot of rumors, and honestly, a lot of questions about what direction this team is really going. But here's the twist that has everyone talking right now. Despite entering the offseason in a tough salary cap situation, the Vikings have already started reshaping the roster. And some of the moves, and even more importantly, the moves that haven't happened yet, could define the future of this franchise. So today we're breaking down the latest Minnesota Vikings news, the real situation with the salary cap, the rumors swirling around potential trades, and what all of this means for the Vikings moving forward. And trust me, by the end of this video, you might see the Vikings strategy in a completely different way. Right away, let's talk about the elephant in the room, the Vikings salary cap situation entering free agency. When the offseason began, Minnesota was reportedly more than $46 million over the salary cap. That's not just tight, that's a serious financial puzzle that needed solving fast. The front office had to act quickly, restructuring several contracts just to create breathing room. One of the most notable restructures involved superstar wide receiver Justin Jefferson, a move designed to push some cap charges into future seasons while keeping their core players intact. Moves like that are common in the NFL, but they also tell us something important. The Vikings weren't just trying to survive the cap crunch. They were trying to stay competitive while doing it. Now, when free agency officially began, many Vikings fans expected a wave of new signings. After all, this team still has holes on the roster, especially on defense and depth positions across the board. But the reality? The Vikings were surprisingly quiet in the first wave of free agency. Instead of making splashy moves, Minnesota focused on smaller additions and internal adjustments. One of the reported outside additions was cornerback James Pierre, a depth move aimed at strengthening the secondary rotation. Players like Pierre may not grab headlines, but they can become valuable contributors in defensive packages. However, another rumor that circulated online, involving quarterback Kyler Murray joining the Vikings, should be treated with caution. As of now, there has been no confirmed signing of Kyler Murray by Minnesota, and credible league reports have not indicated such a move. In the modern NFL media environment, rumors spread incredibly fast, especially during free agency. Sometimes fans see a headline or a social media post and assume a deal is done when in reality it's only speculation. So for Vikings fans watching this situation unfold, it's important to separate confirmed Minnesota Vikings news from off-season rumors. Now let's get into the numbers because the salary cap is really the heart of the Vikings strategy this offseason. According to the latest projections from cap tracking sites, the Vikings currently have only a few $1 million in available salary cap space. That's not a lot of room when you still need to build depth and prepare for the upcoming NFL draft. Even small moves matter when you're operating in this kind of financial environment. Every restructure, every release, and every contract adjustment becomes part of a much larger puzzle. One development that could help Minnesota later in the year involves post-June 1st roster moves. In the NFL, teams sometimes designate certain cuts for after June 1st to spread the salary cap impact over multiple seasons. For the Vikings, those future savings could free up more cap space once the calendar reaches that date. But until then, the team has to operate with the limited space currently available. And that's where roster management becomes critical for the Minnesota Vikings. Right now, the offseason roster calculations only count the top 51 contracts against the salary cap. Once the regular season approaches, the full roster, plus practice squad, must be accounted for. That means the Vikings must reserve money not just for current players, but also for upcoming draft picks, practice squad salaries, and possible mid-season signings. In other words, the cap space you see today isn't all money the team can freely spend. And this is where things get really interesting for the Vikings front office. There have been rumors around potential roster moves that could create additional financial flexibility. One name that has been mentioned in speculation circles is edge rusher Jonathan Greenard. Trade rumors involving pass rushers often emerge during the offseason because they can free up significant cap space while bringing draft compensation in return. However, at this moment, there has been no confirmed trade involving Greenard. Vikings fans have been hearing whispers about possible deals for weeks, but nothing has materialized. That leaves Minnesota in a waiting game. Another potential financial lever for the team could involve extending veteran right tackle Brian O'Neill. Contract extensions often allow teams to convert salary into signing bonuses, which spreads the cap hit over multiple years. For the Vikings, a move like that could potentially create additional cap flexibility while keeping a key offensive lineman locked in for the future. But so far, there hasn't been significant public discussion about an extension happening immediately. And that raises a big question for Vikings fans. Are the team's biggest moves still coming, or is this off-season strategy intentionally conservative? Looking ahead, the long-term salary cap picture actually looks much healthier for Minnesota. When analysts project the Vikings' cap situation a couple of seasons down the road, things start to look far more manageable. Several current contracts will either expire or become easier to restructure, giving the team more flexibility. That future flexibility is extremely important for a franchise trying to build a sustainable contender. Right now, Minnesota has a core group of players under contract for the next several seasons. Maintaining that core while slowly rebuilding the depth around it could be the real long-term plan. The NFL salary cap also increases almost every year, which means future financial pressure may not be as severe as it looks today. That's another reason teams sometimes push money into future seasons through restructures. But even with those positive projections, the Vikings still need to navigate the present carefully. Every move they make this offseason affects their ability to compete in the short term and their flexibility in the long term. And Vikings fans know this team is trying to balance both. Another element that could affect Minnesota's financial outlook involves compensatory picks and potential cap adjustments tied to player movement around the league. While those details can get complicated, they sometimes bring small financial benefits or extra draft assets. And for a team managing a tight cap, every little advantage matters. The Vikings front office understands that building a roster isn't just about signing big names. Sometimes the smartest strategy is patience. Sometimes it's developing younger players already in the building. And sometimes it's waiting for the right opportunity instead of chasing headlines. That might not be the flashiest approach, but it can be the smartest one. So right now, Vikings fans are watching a front office that appears to be playing the long game. Instead of overspending in the first wave of free agency, Minnesota is focusing on financial stability and calculated roster moves. That strategy may frustrate some fans in the short term, but it could position the Vikings much better in the seasons ahead. Still, the big question remains, will Minnesota make another move before the draft? Could a trade shake things up? Could a surprise veteran signing happen once more cap space opens up? Those possibilities are still very much alive. And as we all know, the NFL offseason can change in a matter of hours. So Vikings fans, now I want to hear from you. Do you think the Minnesota Vikings are being smart and patient with their salary cap strategy? Or do you believe the team should be more aggressive in free agency right now? Drop your thoughts down in the comments because this is one of the biggest debates surrounding the Vikings this offseason. And if you love staying updated with the latest Minnesota Vikings news, roster updates, rumors, and analysis just like this, make sure you smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. Share this video with other Vikings fans so we can keep the conversation going. And as always, Skol Vikings, we'll see you in the next update. Purple circle, yellow circle, American football.